Welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. This is the midweek pod right before the UCF game. We're at the middle point of the season, and it's time to get the rest of the season going. Before we get going, let's talk about our new sponsor. This pod, the midweek pods, are going to be brought to you by Fluke Luke Fishing. That's a YouTube channel where Fluke Luke brings you feel-good fishing content and honest reviews of equipment and tackle. Go to his YouTube channel, watch, like, and subscribe. It's a great channel, very entertaining, very informative. Well, guys, we got the UCF game coming up, and you want to do the introductions? All right, I'm Steve.
Lucas.
Jay.
And Connor's here as well.
Thank you.
I missed the last midweek, so I want to make sure everyone knows I'm here.
Connor is here.
They'll hear those idiotic takes and they'll figure it out.
Well, let's get we want to do Lock of the Weeks first, or
already getting in there. So we got the midweek, guys. What are we looking forward to in this UCF game? OU's like a 18.5-point favorite. It's fallen a little bit. Going to be a tighter game than what it opened at. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It feels like forever since we last played. I mean, the Cotton Bowl feels.
Yeah.
We've done a lot since then. We've watched a lot of football since then. We've watched some teams lose that I think we can all agree we're happy about over the bye week period. I'm excited. I said it in our pregame video, but I also will reiterate it here. Is I really hope that we can see this continued momentum from the defense. You guys asked the question for me last week, and I think I would have phrased it. I'm not necessarily seeing this specific week as a letdown, as a hangover effect. We all saw the record of OU's record after the Texas game for the last 20 years. I think we've lost like one game maybe in 2014. But I'm thinking more so just holistically the back half of the season letdown is, and I feel that way because we've looked so dominant, especially on that side of the ball. I don't want to get to a moment where we're all looking at each other like, oh crap, like, like that. Where's the defense that we saw in the first half of the season? So I don't think that's going to be the case, but I am excited to see some continued momentum on that side of the ball, and then just the improvements, the continued improvements offensively, whether that be offensive line play, which we're going to have to figure out with an injury to Matoyer. Shout out to him. We saw him at dinner tonight. And then also with Andrell Anthony being out for the rest of the season, we're going to have to see what that room of wide receivers does, especially some of the guys who are going to be asked to step up over the next 6+ games. So I don't know. Overall, still cautiously optimistic. I think we proved a lot in Dallas, and I'm ready to continue kind of the narrative of. I mean, still nationally, I don't think we're getting the amount of respect that I believe we deserve.
We had a bye week. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Out of the spotlight.
I'm looking forward to putting the Texas game behind us, and
So are they.
Just acting like it never happened at this point. It's like Jay said a couple pods ago, it's a fresh mid-season now. You're let's go 0-0 currently, and just say we got to win the next 6 games to get to conference championship, and then see what happens after that. I know
we got a 3-game season.
We had a lot of press in front, after the Texas game, with Stutzman going on various shows. That was awesome. It does help put you in the spotlight with committee and stuff like that, being on national programs. But that was 2 weeks ago practically. By the time this game kicks, it will be 2 weeks ago. So it's time to go out there and show what we've improved on in the bye week, which hopefully running game is a big part of that, because UCF gave up 399 rushing yards to Kansas in Lawrence a couple weeks ago. So I fully expect, I don't know if I expect it, but I truly hope we get 220, 250 rushing yards. Now, if they're just selling out on the run and giving us 500 passing yards, and so be it. But I would like to get the running game going. It sounds like Barnes is still not completely healed from his offseason foot surgery, even though he played a couple games.
I wonder if he redshirts at this point.
I mean, is he the talent that's going to be the type to redshirt?
How many games has he played?
I think he's been in 2 games.
Okay.
But
I don't think he played against Cincy or.
I think Tawi Walker is our lead running back. The dude bumbles and stumbles for extra yards every time he gets hit. After a 4-yard run, he gets 3 more yards. Mm-hmm. And Major hasn't shown that he can do that, and we definitely haven't seen enough of Salchuk really since the bowl game to know what kind of form he's in right now.
Can Tawi catch the ball?
Yeah, I think he can. I mean,
Just don't know if we've seen that part of his game.
I don't think
Too much.
I mean, that's a play to me that you should use 2 or 3 times a game on
That's
the
fair.
running back screen.
You got to hit him if you're going to throw
We have
it.
so many wide receiver screens available with the guys that we've got over there, especially Farouk, who can do great things once he touches the ball. With, even in a crowded area, he can make people miss. He's got a little CD Lamb to him in that body frame he's got. But I don't know. Let's just keep rolling, but start anew essentially.
Yeah, I'm excited because I feel like this isn't a typical time of the season that we get a bye week.
Mm-mm.
And it's
great
usually
timing,
after
though.
like the 3rd week or 4th week of the season, we don't even need a bye week. At this point, after 6 games and just after Texas, you kind of know your roster and you know your roles and you know who's going to play where and what. And I think that's extremely advantageous because now you just really focus in and hone in on what exactly we want to do with the exact personnel for situations. And I don't think we're anywhere near where we can go as a football team. So for me, it's extremely exciting because the defense has looked really good. And I still think there's just leaps and bounds that we can improve on, to be honest. And it would just be awesome to really just start to see it come together. And we are just absolutely, putting our foot on the throat of opponents and just sucking the will right out of them.
Well, and you start feeling like the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world who go and put games away that they should put away, even after big, emotional, action-packed games like we came off of in Dallas, where you are going to be in a fight in a game like that. But with the slate that we have coming up, looking at this game specifically, this is a game we should go in, take care of business comfortably, and move on to the next. So I agree holistically with that.
I think so
take,
too.
Jay.
I think that, to me, this is kind of an important game to see how we come out of the gate after a bye week, after a lot of publicity, after a lot of excitement and emotions following, obviously, an epic win against Texas, accomplishing so much, getting to this new plateau. Will we come out stale or will we come out fresh and hungry? Do we come out looking like we have been working on things? We are looking for improvement because we do need lots of improvement in lots of areas. Anyone who looks at this 6-0 schedule or record and what we put on display and thinks that that's enough is really not seeing the full picture of what I think our potential is, just like you say, Jay. And I'm sure the coaches are seeing it and trying to reiterate it every chance they get to the players. Hopefully it's sinking into the players and they understand they still have a long way to go with a lot of opportunity in front of them, but a lot of challenges. Now, you've got a fairly soft schedule, it looks like, but I don't know how soft it is in comparison to the first 5 games. So, and you weren't perfect in those games. There were things that could have gone against you, at least in one of them in the SMU game, that you could have been in more than just a dogfight. You could have lost that game. So hopefully they do that. I'm looking to see how they emerge right out of the gate. Hopefully it's not stale. I want to see us, as I mentioned last week on the pod, I want to see us really putting opponents away quickly. I want to see us hitting on not all cylinders, but almost all cylinders, if not all cylinders. I would like to see us in what you would like to call midseason form. We're relatively healthy. We are going to have more talent than the teams we're playing. We should be able to put them away. And one of the things I look forward to is seeing us be able to get guys in that are second string, third string, and rest those starters, and comfortably have them in to seal a victory away, salting games away, and then work on things that those guys need to work on because they need to be they may be called on. Obviously, you're just one injury away in many cases from those guys being the front line, and so I want to see them get some valuable playing time and experience. That kind of relates to the question we posed to the Twitter audience this week, or X audience. What will we learn? What will we learn if this team is 6-0? Will we learn anything out of this team going 6-0? The results were 5% said no, nothing. We won't learn anything. 39% said yes, we will learn something, but it'll be a little. And 56% said yes, we'll learn a lot. I was in the little camp. I think it's possible we learn a lot.
6-0 from here on out.
From here on out, yeah. If we're 6-0 in these last 6 games, I don't know if we learn a lot. It could be. I think we learn a lot if we're 5-1 or 4-2. But if we're 6-0, we just may not know a whole lot out of it, but maybe we will. I was in the little. I don't know what you guys did.
I put. I think I actually went back and looked, and maybe we can try to define little versus a lot. But I put a lot.
Little is less than a lot.
It is. So where we draw that line, maybe. I put a lot, and I say that because we haven't gone 12-0 in the regular season since 2003, 4, somewhere around there, maybe 5, 2005.
Not 5, 2004.
Not 5, yeah. So, I mean, I think it'll tell us a lot about what this team has made it to. I'm trying to word this correctly, but I don't know. I think if we can get to that point where we are putting games away, and let's go back and look at Cincinnati. That's a game that, looking at what Cincinnati is right now, probably should have done a lot more than what we actually did in that game, and won more handily than what we did. Offensively, yeah, exactly. So, and maybe that's more what I'm saying is definitely I think we could learn a lot on the offensive side of the ball, because if we're going and putting games away and we get to that 6-0, we don't drop a regular season game at all, I think you learn quite a bit, especially in terms of, wow, maybe we actually are getting our stuff together from an offensive side of the ball. Maybe Jeff Lebby is figuring this system out on his own, plus Dylan Gabriel's really settled into it, where in the first few games we were all criticizing that he wasn't. So I think there is a lot to learn, and maybe it's not learning, maybe it's just validation. I don't know.
I did a little because I don't think the competition's very good. And we've had plenty of years that even though we've gone, say, 11-1 and won the conference championship, we've gone into the playoffs thinking, oh, this team really, we know what this team is. And then, bam, Clemson destroys us. Bam, LSU destroys us. Bam, Alabama against Kyler Murray comes out and killing us in the first half. So we've thought we knew the teams going into those bowl games. But this year, even at 12-0, we really, other than Texas, could face hardly any decent competition. And going into a conference championship game, say a rematch with Texas, or a playoff game, God willing, that we still may not know fully what this team is because we wouldn't have faced the elite teams. So that's why I chose a little.
Or even strong competition.
Yeah.
I think I put a little. I actually don't remember. But it's, to me, ultimately, it's probably just game dependent. If we come out and the defense is just dominating for the next 6 football games, I don't care who our opponents are, I think you can learn a lot from your football team.
I would agree. And
vice versa, the defense might struggle the back half, and maybe the offense picks it up, and you learn a lot about this football team.
How you win is going to matter a lot. I think that if we...
Just the record itself,
I
don't think you learn much about, but maybe how the games go.
And the opponents. That's really a moving target. I think that right now, I would say that Oklahoma State, on paper, looks to be that or TCU, probably our toughest opponent. And considering where the game's being played in Stillwater versus at home. I know that, for what it's worth, the All-State playoff predictor has TCU as our most difficult opponent left. Just behind them is Oklahoma State, and TCU were 88% likely to win.
Well, TCU with the quarterback change
they're looking
significantly
stronger.
Better.
And they've got a lot of time to get that groove going, obviously playing us at the end. So who knows? Maybe these teams, a few weeks ago we didn't think Oklahoma State was anything at all, and now all of a sudden, kind of like what Connor said weeks ago, Gundy's going to get it together, and sure enough, here they are, and they're looking a lot stronger.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, we're going to be favored in all of these games. It's a matter of, and I think rightfully favored. I don't think there's not a game, obviously not a game on the back half of this schedule where we are not, I think, marginally the better football team. And I hope we don't slip into that playing down to the level of opponent. And I'm not saying that one loss gets us out of any sort of conversation. I think all of us sitting here saying an 11-1 regular season it's obviously outperformed most of our expectations outside of Steve's going into the season. But also, I don't think that loss that Steve necessarily thought originally was there would have been a loss to potentially Oklahoma State on the road, or a TCU at home, or even
it was
maybe
just
BYU.
a chance of losing to Texas.
Yeah, So I mean,
And that's gone.
and that's why you've gone up to 12-0, right? So I think one thing to note that it's funny in the front half of the season you had a lot of these fans, I think, hedging their bets before the Texas game when they saw what our defense was, and it was a let's just enjoy the ride, enjoy this for what it is type of thing. Right now, at this point, you've beat Texas, you're 6-0, and you have everything in front of you. We're done enjoying the ride. I think there's an expectation to be had, and it should be shared amongst the fan base.
I think it will be.
I think it should be.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be, all right, like this, we've got something here. I'm not saying we're going to go and win a national title, even though we will, but I'm not going to expect everybody to feel that way.
I bet more so than most people do.
Yeah.
I bet you are actually more in not a pessimist, but you're not as optimistic or as high expectations as the average fan.
Yeah.
I bet the average fan now has reset to a trajectory where they're expecting a lot. And I think they'll be a lot less forgiving going forward than they have been in the first 6 games, with different things that we saw, close games at times, close moments, mistakes made. I think there's going to be a lot less forgiveness there.
I mean, the good part.
The monster. You're feeding the monster.
The good part for me is, between what happened last year and, the first 6 games still not being perfect football games for our team, especially Texas. I mean, there's a ton to improve on.
Oh, yeah.
We're giving
that
up
Texas
520-something yards.
Yeah, so it's not like the defense can just sit back and feel like, oh, we've made it and we're good,
Or the
good
offense.
as it's
The
gonna
offense was
get,
completely unproductive for a good 2 quarters of that game.
Yeah, so there's still plenty to harp on and to work on, and we're far from being a finished product.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
So-
speaking of fans, I had a listener question
All right.
from Patrick and his son Matt. They have
All
this
right.
question.
Patrick and Matt, here we
They're
go.
coming to their first game this season.
All right.
Well, they've come to games in the past, but this is the first game this season they've been able to make. And they want to know what the atmosphere is going to be like, because it's our first home game, obviously, since the Texas win. We don't have another home game we got 2 road games in a row coming up after this. It's homecoming this weekend. It's another stupid 11 o'clock kickoff, which is just a kick in the nuts again. I saw this stat the other day. I think Jay sent it to me. It says since 2015, Alabama has played 5 SEC games at 11 o'clock. In that same time frame, OU will have played 23 Big 12 games at 11 o'clock.
Not including Texas.
Not including Texas
Not including the Big 12
or
championship.
the conference championship game. 23
So how many of that, since what year?
since 2015.
So that would include then another 4 Big 12 championships and every Texas game?
Except for 2017.
Yeah,
We had
except for
1, 2, 3,
2017.
yeah. Yeah, that's a ton.
That's a lot.
So
That's
obviously
30
the
plus.
fans are
30,
getting
yeah.
sick of it. We're getting sick of it. It's not necessarily hard for us to get up for a game that early because we're crazy. But I mean, the casual fan like Patrick and Matt that watch all the OU games but don't venture down here as often. What's it going to be like this
Well,
weekend?
the weather's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're coming off of a giant win against Texas, so I think it'll be very exciting. It's not a big opponent, and so the expectation, I think, is kick the crap out of them early. I think the pregame atmosphere, my guess, is going to be very rich and wonderful, albeit adjusted for the fact that it's 11 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah, homecoming is at nighttime on Friday night now.
Right, and so you get some of that excitement that gets taken up in the night before. I think that it'll be pretty exciting, but I think that it will really tell about how we open the game. It could be a lot of grunts and frustration if we're not really dominant really fast. I think that will, and also I would imagine there's a different crowd that shows up for 11 a.m. than the night game, in terms of people that choose to come, season ticket holders versus others versus friends that you give your tickets to. It's a composition effect. That's different too. It would be my guess. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think to your point of coming off a big win against Texas, homecoming does play a role. There'll be people in town that aren't usually in town for games that'll be at the game and showing up.
And sometimes that's actually a downer if you've got people that they're sort of the casual fan that comes out for homecoming or comes back.
Yeah, I think there's a little shot of adrenaline running through the fan base right now where people are excited to get out here. I think it sucks that it's at 11 a.m., but I feel a lot less dreadful about coming to this, being 6-0 and having as much in front of us. And I bet I'm not the only one who feels that way. I think a lot of people are excited to come see this team play. And I think what we're doing on the defensive side of the ball is really helping that. We're really enjoying watching our guys run around the field and make plays. So
And
I think it'll be good.
It's a new conference opponent, too. It's somebody we're not going to get to play again.
Yeah.
Because it's a one and done for us with them in the conference. Does that add any mystique, essentially, to playing an incoming school that we're never going to see again? I don't know.
It's hard to say that with it being UCF. And
I mean, 2017 national championships or whatever they were. What year was it that they claimed a national championship?
Just to show them who's daddy.
I don't remember what year that
17 or 18.
17
I
or
think
18,
it's
something like
something in there. Yeah.
I think in-game atmosphere will be the same as it always is. I think the crowd will show up.
The weather helps. The heat shouldn't be exhausting people.
Oh,
as
the weather.
daily.
Weather
Weather's
should be
gonna be
good.
fantastic.
The pregame stuff
And
for
people will
11
stick
a.m.
around because of the weather.
Yeah.
Pregame stuff for 11 a.m. is just hit or miss. I don't know. So it's hard to tell what the atmosphere is.
I mean,
gonna be like.
it's a busy morning getting up and around and getting down here and making a viable atmosphere before the game.
Yeah, tailgating and stuff's not as
And I
you're
mean,
having to cook breakfast. or
everyone can
something.
say that that's an excuse and everything. It's not. I mean, it's a pain in the ass.
It's
Like,
really tough. It really well, everything. I mean, not that we want people just drunk, but it's just hard to get into that midday rhythm that early, because 11 a.m. on a Saturday is early for most people,
And students too.
students especially. So it's hard to
especially
really
on the back end of a homecoming
going.
festivity
They're
on
getting
Friday
party
night.
on Friday night
Yeah.
for homecoming parade and all
Now,
that. And they gotta turn and get
I
up.
do think the 11 a.m. helps from the standpoint of with great weather, it keeps people at the game longer who are going to look for an early exit if it's a night game. That's why I think the 2:30 game is actually the perfect game time. It's a good mixture of all of it. But 11 a.m. you're gonna keep people in the stands. Hopefully not because it's a close game. Hopefully because they're seeing what I want to see, which is a lot of players play, including Jackson Arnold. I think Jackson Arnold gets in this game. Do you guys think he'll get a chance to play? And I mean play like hand the ball to him to finish the game. I think he may get in for some early series to try some things out the way they've done in several games. But I think he'll get to a point where we're ahead enough that he'll get to finish the game and actually run some plays. You guys think he will or won't?
I think he'll get some drives in the second half that are more of offensive, intentional drives as opposed to killing the game. I don't know how much I expect to see him early on, to
I don't
be honest.
any at all.
Early? None.
I think that Gabriel being in the position that he's in right now, even nationally, I think and
That's a
maybe
good point.
maybe
I
I
was
think
gonna
that's
say
why he stays in longer.
Heisman
misreading it,
race,
but
yeah.
I think they're going to be feeding Gabriel opportunities to go make plays. I don't see them needing to bring Arnold in. I don't mind it if they do, Steve, to your point, but I don't see it being a priority anymore.
He's either second or third in the odds, depending on which bookkeeping service you look at. And who's to say that they don't see that and they say, well, we're up 42-10. This would normally be a moment in the fourth quarter that you're putting Arnold in, but let's get Dylan another touchdown, or
That's
or
good
pad
point.
his stats a little bit.
42-10, I think Arnold will come in the game.
If
He's
it's
shown
42-10
enough.
at the end of the third quarter, you think Arnold comes in there?
No, I bet.
What
I
if
bet.
Gabriel?
I
What
bet
if
he
we got
doesn't.
3 rushing touchdowns?
If he
and
comes
Gabriel's only
in,
thrown 2
if he
touchdowns?
comes in because we're ahead, it'll be no more than 7 or 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Really?
All right. Well, related question. Put your fandom aside and tell me, if I grant you a vote for the Heisman right now, who would you vote for?
Penix.
Penix.
I guess. I mean, I still think Caleb's the best player in the country, if that's the way you want to give the award. But
I don't
know.
think there's
He
any
looked-
way
he looked
Caleb
really
has
bad the other
earned
day.
it
I don't
at
know
this
he's
point.
deserving, but he's the best
He's
player
not
in the country.
deserving. That's the
they
problem.
just faced their only tough defense of the season, and he had 4
4
picks.
interceptions.
3 picks.
3 picks and a drop for a scoop and score.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought he threw 4 interceptions.
No, he did though. He threw 4 interceptions. I
He
think.
threw 4.
I don't think he did.
I thought
I think it
threw
was 3 in the first
Well, look
half.
it up. It's awful.
I
He
think
played
he-
awful against Notre
did.
Dame.
I still think he's the best player in the country. But again, I wouldn't give it.
I don't know.
The back-to-back Heisman thing is a stumbling block for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
It would be.
yeah, I think so. Unless he's just that much better than everybody.
Setting aside, my heart, I could vote for him. That wouldn't stop me. That wouldn't do anything. The only thing it might do is it might cause me to overcorrect, thinking that I need to make sure I'm not thinking of last year and focus on this year.
He's ahead of
but
last
as
year.
I focus on this year, he's just not that good this year.
He's ahead in
He's
every
not.
statistical category from last year.
He's only ahead because they've had to play him for 4+ quarters.
Well, it doesn't mean
against
it's
games
still
he's
not
winning.
statistically ahead of where he was last year.
But he's
last
not.
year, the first 3 games,
Even his QB
he
ratings
barely played
higher
the
than
second
last
half.
year.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause they played
He's had to
nobody.
play.
Yeah.
I mean, his QB rating might be high, but his QB rating against
they
the only
almost lost to
defense he's
Arizona.
played has been horrific. And we've seen other near interceptions dropped. Was it 3 interceptions?
3.
3 interceptions and several others just bad plays.
I mean, just for devil's advocate, you could also say they don't have him, and who knows what the record is? Just like when he was
well,
here.
clearly,
Well, they've
but
got
that
2
could be
wins
that about
probably
anybody.
if he's not there.
So I'd vote for Penix at this point in terms of who's earned it. Now let me turn the question.
Earned it. Penix has a much better win. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Fast forward to the rest of the season. What do you project? Do you think there's a chance that if I were to give you a vote, would you vote for Gabriel? Can you see a scenario where you'd vote for Gabriel?
Not me.
No.
And that's
really
what I
tough,
don't
isn't it?
think. And I don't think you. To counter the point I made a minute ago, I don't think you play him with that type of mentality as a coach. Like we've seen that the guy can go and win us games. Why risk him getting hurt in the third or fourth quarter if we're winning big, when you can go and get meaningful experience for Jackson Arnold? And I'm not saying
And
like
build for the future.
and,
with
yeah,
both.
and you get the best of both worlds there. I don't think with where this team is at, and it's currently performing well above expectation. And the stat I've really liked this year is the points above expected against the opponents that you've played, I think, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And OU is like 10 plus points,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
double
they
digits.
lead the nation. And I think if you right now, if you're performing like that, you're going just to win games, and you do everything you can to keep the players that are winning you games. And I will say, Gabriel looks like he's that guy right now, who's helping you win games. You keep him healthy, and then Steve, to what you just said, you start building for the future where you can. It's an absolute best case scenario we're in right now. If that's where we see ourselves in the third or fourth quarter next week, or this week.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how they play that. We'll have to look for that depending on the game situation and what they do. There are little things they can do also, which I hope they don't let that influence them too much. But if you're at the 5-yard line, you can make some decisions about what you want to do.
It might
You
be
can
more
say, "Let's throw
quarterback
a-"
run game or
let him get a throwing touchdown. So
I mean, and it's
I
all
don't know.
dependent on what other teams are doing too. If Washington ends up with 2 losses, we all know the Heisman usually goes to the best player on the best team.
yeah,
And if OU is one of only 2 undefeated teams, let's say, come Heisman voting time, and he's got the big win against Texas,
and another
then-
big win
and then
against
another
Texas.
win against Texas possibly,
And an undefeated record.
and the stats show out enough that
Well, he's a go-
I think there's no question he's
I mean,
headed to New York.
if he
and
ends
he's a
up with-
feel-good story.
if he ends up with 35 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and
Yeah.
3,500 yards,
Oh,
and
yeah.
another 300, 400
He's
rushing
a
or whatever.
transfer who came back from injury.
Like I said in the last pod, that they love a good story.
They love the
So
story.
the Hawaii aspect and all that's going to be in his favor, and he's a really clean cut, really well spoken guy.
Unassuming.
That definitely helps. He doesn't have the prototypical body to be a big time college quarterback. All that is in his favor.
Yeah,
And
for
when-
sure.
And in the interviews, he's going to kill it.
And
So
we're-
are we hoping USC beats Washington?
no.
No,
I just don't, given our record that OU should have heading in towards like a Heisman ceremony, I just don't know how you could sit there and honestly vote for him as the best player in the country.
yeah, but how many people with Heisman votes watch all the games?
Right.
a lot of them just look at the stats
Right.
and then see the story,
Well,
and they go, "Oh, this guy fits the bill."
and look at Baker is they when he grabbed his crotch against Kansas, they weren't talking about Baker not being the best player in the nation. It was, is Baker Heisman material. Dylan has all of the Heisman material that to everything you just said. If he goes in there with all of the wins that he can possibly have this season, and
the turnaround
and
from last year to this year,
and the statistics that he's putting up, crap. I mean, if he surpasses that top 10 yardage all time in passing before then, which it's looking like he will.
Which is not a career award, yet it is a career award.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like the kid has everything going for him to he's obviously, like you said, Jay, he's set up to go to New York. When the odds came out after Williams loses this week, where I saw the ones where Gabriel was second in the odds.
Yeah, I saw second.
Well,
and third.
on Bovada, he was third, and Williams, Caleb was down to like ninth.
He dropped like 8 to 8
It
or
was
9th.
crazy.
Like, yeah.
It was like they're reading into the situation of,
Well,
I don't
and
think
the
they
rest of
want to
their
give it to
season's
this
tough,
guy.
too. Yeah.
And the rest of the season's brutal.
Well,
And
and-
then you hear the news this week about some reporter put out that
He wants an ownership
his
stake.
camp is letting NFL owners know that he wants a stake in the team if they draft him, and that just makes him look worse on a surface level.
Yeah.
And that's going to turn a lot of voters off too.
I think that will. I think it doesn't help that he's got now what I would call negative imagery nationally with Lincoln Riley. It looks like there's excuse making going
They're
on,
close.
which we've seen it so many times. They are so close.
What is the
They're
deal? So
close.
Steve and I were talking about this. What is the deal with Lincoln Riley bringing Caleb Williams out for all of his press conferences after the game? To stand there or sit there with him while Lincoln just
It's like
gets...
he's working security or something.
It's like, hey, like, you know,
And he's not giving
my
off
guy's
good,
with me.
Vibes.
Body,
Good
body
language.
posture.
No, his
yeah.
body language is like he's mad.
Well, he's
Like-
tired
like-
of getting run over because his offensive line's so bad.
Yeah, it's a bad attitude that is what is projected to me. That on top of what you're saying, Lucas, about him coming out with this news about I want an ownership stake. Hey, let's slow down and figure out who you are yet. You know,
and that may not be true in the long run, but that's out there.
it sure sounds like it was true. It's really being widely reported, and to me, it's sort of a backfire potential. I think you can get poisoned a little bit. If I were an NFL owner, I would start to have some second thoughts about this guy.
It's like Todd Marinovich's dad.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
one of those situations.
You've got. I mean, it's a different flavor of a Colin Kaepernick. Like, is this just a troublemaker? Is this somebody that's going to be more trouble than he's worth? What is he going to ask for? I mean, it's apparently Aaron Rodgers asked for the same thing. Well, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and he got shut down. But you slow down, son.
And there was
You're
a
not
report
there
about,
yet.
I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago, and there was a list of like 6 or 7 teams that he was quote unquote willing to get drafted by, or else he would go back to USC. So that's got like some Eli Manning type vibes where,
Yep.
and I've never forgotten what Eli did. I've never liked him, even when I see him and Peyton do the stuff. I like their banter and all that.
I like
But
Peyton. I
Going,
don't like
going
Eli.
back to what Archie and Eli did by telling the Chargers, we're not going there. You have to trade me because I will never play for you. That has left a bad taste in my mouth 20 years later.
Well, it's funny if Caleb does pull the trigger, he won't. He will go to the NFL after the season, but it'll be just so funny because if he comes back, Malachi Nelson is gone, in my opinion. I think he leaves.
He's not even their backup.
Yeah, didn't even come.
Yeah.
In, but so
Well,
he may be
and
gone.
and
He may be gone
why would he want
regardless.
to come play for a new
But
USC coach because Lincoln Riley is going to the NFL?
But it breaks. It
as
breaks.
predicted on this pod by me.
Lincoln Riley's not going to get offered a job.
It breaks Lincoln's whole QB cycle system that he has
Of every other year.
every other
Every other
year,
year.
and him having to figure
He
out
almost
what
has
to
to
do.
tell him to leave.
Yeah, I mean it's
It's a weird
He's
situation.
going to be in the NFL. He's not going to care. He doesn't, because
We'll
in
see.
the NFL, the owner and the general manager will probably pick him a defensive coordinator,
Do you
and,
think
they'll
that-
get somebody with a half a brain.
Again, I
as
fear
opposed to Alex Grinch.
if I were
and they'll be
if I were a
successful.
general manager or an owner, I'd think this guy's going to completely thwart that. He's going to mess that up.
Well, somebody tried it with Kingsbury.
I don't think he's any good. I as a head coach, I really. Now, there's a lot of dumb things that go on in the NFL. They make a lot of dumb decisions. It could happen. He's a great offensive coordinator, although he's slipped and been less good every year for the last 6-7 years. But I don't know. I'm not
I've
so
seen
sure
a
he's
lot
going to
of
get
bad
a job.
head coaches in the NFL.
I'm not
especially
sure he's
this
going to get a
year.
job.
There's some really bad NFL head coaches.
I'm still selling that prediction.
I mean, after
short.
his quote, I don't think it'll be this year. I think he goes and gets his face kicked in a little bit in the Big Ten. I still think he puts up good offensive numbers, but I don't think he wins a lot and figures out a way to jump ship. I say figures out a way because I think it's going to be a Kingsbury situation.
I think he might be a coordinator. I don't think he'll be a head coach in the NFL.
You do not go
That's my
from
prediction.
being a head coach at USC to offensive coordinator in the NFL.
I think you actually might. Well, look at the track record of the previous USC coaches and places they went. I mean, aside from Pete Carroll, it's just a flame out and go to different places and try to find your bearings. Give it a couple games. It's going to get ugly.
I mean, the quotes he released late last week or whenever that was about how he envies life of an NFL coach, essentially, of not having to do as much as what college coaches do.
Yeah. They can actually take vacations.
For a guy who is so resentful of the media, it's pretty humorous the freaking ammunition that he gives them.
Well, I'd like to interview an NFL coach and say the typical average one and say, how much of a vacation do you get? I bet the offseason is pretty damn demanding. I bet they're doing quite a bit of football coaching during that offseason.
I think they probably get a couple weeks, like college coaches do, to go and enjoy themselves.
I bet they envy college coaches.
I bet they get a whole lot more.
I bet not. I bet they work every bit as hard or harder than college coaches who are going around just talking to kids who can't recruit. They can't do much of anything from mid-January all the way through August.
Yeah, you know the NFL coaches that have a lot of time on their hands are the ones who don't make the playoffs and have a longer offseason, and the not as good ones.
Well, there's a pretty good chance that the Bears are fired. They've got currently, obviously, it's pretty early in the season. They've only played 6 NFL games.
Yeah.
At this point, the Bears currently have the number 1 and number 2 pick because they have the Panthers pick, and their coach is a complete idiot. So it wouldn't surprise me if Caleb and Lincoln are a package deal, kind of like Kingsbury and Kyler ended up being at Arizona, even though Kyler didn't play directly for Kingsbury other than the 1 year at A&M, I think, if I remember right. But the Bears' defense is pretty solid, so he could just go in and take the head coaching job, be the offensive coordinator, and keep the DC along with the DC system and all the players they already have, and turn that franchise around.
I hope you're right.
Well, and their number 2 pick will be Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't turn
or an
the
offensive
franchise
lineman
around.
I hope you're right in the realm
it.
of that he just jumps, and because I don't think he'll be successful. I would love to see the meltdown in Southern California.
That would be the best of all this.
It's
already started with the message board posts.
They've been
the
beautiful.
Oklahoma fans were right. They told us all along it wasn't just sour grapes. They've told us the whole time that Lincoln knows what he's doing offensively as the coordinator, but he leaves a lot to be.
Teams are weak. They're soft.
We were.
And Alex Grinch is the downfall.
We had
of
the
whole
wool
program
pulled over our eyes. We were total homers who wanted to believe and had a lot of reasons to believe because there was a lot of success. But it took him leaving and us really seeing the truth to understand, oh my God, it wasn't that great, and we had serious problems. And we didn't know how bad we had it until we see, I think, the entire regime come in with Venables and see a full picture of what a program should look like at this level, at a true blue chip level. If I'm Lincoln Riley right now, I'm begging for the traditional apathy of USC fans to set in. Stop putting me under the microscope, lose your expectations, and stop caring, because this is going to look ugly for the next few games.
Oh, well, Dabo said, we've got a bunch of bandwagon fans. That
he wants to lighten up the bandwagon.
I wouldn't mind losing a couple games just to get rid of some of these bandwagon fans.
That's a loser statement right there.
And he's doing a good job of losing fans because
yes, he
since
is.
Brent Venables left, they have not been as good.
Full circle, though. I mean, I think if I had to vote today, I'd have Penix number 1. It'd be hard for me to put Gabriel as number 2. I'd have Caleb as number 2 more than likely.
Isn't McCarthy in the same boat?
I'd have McCarthy in a similar position as Gabriel.
Yeah.
McCarthy, Gabriel, and even Bo
Travis,
Nix. Bo Nix has had a great.
Bowers is out
he's
now.
been hurt.
He's
though.
done for the season. The Georgia tight end.
So, anyways, but even the fact that we're getting to talk about another OU player more than likely making a trip to New York after what we saw last season, what we went through last season, is
it's awesome.
A strong testament to where we're headed.
We've had our criticisms, but none of us dislike him at all. We love the fact that he's at OU and everything he's doing. We love the story. And so we're big supporters, and we'll be the first ones to say we want him to win the Heisman.
Absolutely.
We just don't think right now he's probably going to get the vote.
Can always use another statue.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you guys a question that's sort of related to something you were talking about before, and I think, Lucas, you brought this up. Is Farouk our best running back? Is he our best threat out of the backfield? With his vision and the yards he gets when he gets the ball back there, I don't know. He might be our biggest threat.
I mean, our longest rush of the year is 30 yards, right?
Farouk may have had a longer one
Something
last
like that, unless he had a longer one
couple
last
weeks
week,
ago.
yeah.
But as far as the running back goes, Tolly
Yeah.
Walker has a 30
From a running
yarder.
back, Towie Walker has
I
a
think
30
Major has a
yarder.
19-yarder, and Sawchuk has a 17-yarder or something like that.
Yeah, what does Gabriel have?
That's
He might have the
it-
longest.
I mean,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Gabriel
it
had a
is.
40.
It is Gabriel with the
Yeah,
longest
40 at
rush.
Texas.
I mean
Yeah.
that's pathetic.
It's very bad.
How many guys? I mean, literally, yes, we're talking NFL guys, but how many? Adrian Peterson,
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, P. Ryan, Rodney Anderson, Kennedy Brooks. I mean, how many 80-yard runs have we seen all those guys make? And we haven't had a running back go for more than 30 on a single against some rum
Halfway
dums early
through
in
the
the season. Yeah.
Well, we're Oklahoma.
talking
We
Tulsa,
should have that.
SMU, Cincinnati. We're talking teams that aren't very good, and we still don't have a rush from a running back longer than 30
It's
yards.
very odd because you would think you would just on accident have the defense in a wrong spot or someone
Yeah.
slips or just whatever and get a 30-yard
And I
run.
feel like our receivers block well.
They do.
That's another. It's not like we've got guys
Yes, they do.
in the second level that aren't doing the
make-
job. It's,
But we don't
we're
run
not getting
anything to
second
the
level.
edge.
No, I
We don't
think
run
I'll bring up
anything to the
something that
edge.
one of our listeners, longtime listeners, Mike, my brother, has brought up. He actually, when he looks at it, he doesn't think it's our line. He thinks the line is opening the right holes. He thinks our running backs don't know how to
vision.
take the right lanes, don't have the vision. We talked about Barnes running right into the back of a a
Tulsa.
block in Tulsa.
Which is crazy because
I think it's the
DeMarco
running
had
backs.
such good vision. DeMarco's vision
Yeah,
was
that
so
might be the hand,
good.
But
he
that
doesn't
can't
see
be
it when
taught.
guys don't.
It
Can't
can't
be
be
taught.
taught.
Yeah, he's expecting them to see things he sees, and he doesn't get that they don't see it. That's why great players don't always make great coaches.
You
And
can
I'm not
probably-
saying he's not a really good
I
coach.
still don't.
You
I'm
can
s-
improve your vision probably, but it's inherent in you from a little.
Some
little
of it's
kid
like a
age.
feel of like when to set up your blocks and like when to hit the hole and different stuff.
Who was
But
the one that when Stoops was blocking to the outside and they just decided to go to the sideline?
Major.
that was
Major.
When literally he could have cut in. We talked about it. He could have got 10 more yards cutting in.
Yeah.
That's little league stuff.
Well, he's
Yeah.
he's banged up, so when he's banged up, he's not going to play too much.
Sawchuk is still the biggest mystery to me. There has to be something wrong with them.
Well, what I'm
or-
more worried about is that was a flash in the pan that we saw, and he's just
Sawchuk
not.
was Trevor Knight.
He's
against
just not.
Bama.
Yeah, exactly. He's just not the guy that he showed in that one game.
But he also hasn't
Haven't
got enough
had the
chances.
opportunities.
He hasn't
Yeah.
had the opportunities.
He
That's
hasn't
fair.
gotten a flow of getting to carry the ball.
He hasn't gotten 20
15
carries in a
times.
game.
You've got to
Yeah.
get a guy to have a lot of carries to get into that flow and get into the rhythm of seeing your blockers, knowing where they're going to be, and getting to the second level. And then, honestly, from my impression, I'd have to go back and look to really back this up. I feel like when they get into that second level, they make the wrong decision then too. That they almost run towards a guy. It's like, where's the breakaway? Where's the I'm not worried about you. That's an arm tackle, and I'm going to break that, and I'm gone.
Yeah, they
versus
almost look for
position
pure
themselves
contact.
For
Yeah.
contact. It's very frustrating and worrisome as far as getting the production that we really want. Well, let's
If
get,
we can ever get the run game going with a
Oh,
dominant back,
baby.
it is lights out.
yeah, absolutely.
Because we're really exceeding on offense more so than we probably should be based on our run game.
Well, yeah. What was the stat that most improved? You know, Gabriel and is right there at the top, and he had a really good season last year for the most part. So yeah, if we can get the run game going, and that's where you put teams away, obviously, and can dominate, give your defense some good rest. So that's what we'd like to
and
see.
run some clock.
Well,
Run some clock.
looking, maybe too far ahead. If you do get into a playoff scenario, you're not going to play anybody that you can't run the. You have to be able to run the
Yeah.
ball. I mean, if they can sit back with two safeties, they don't have to bring anyone up to help with the run.
you're
You're
in trouble.
screwed. You're screwed.
And back to criticism of Gabriel, we know that he will struggle in that situation. Any quarterback would, and he definitely will struggle with that type of situation. So let's get to some predictions. I want to circle back to something we started to touch on. Get your prediction or guesses as to how many 11 a.m. kickoffs are we going to have this year from here on out. We know UCF and TCU will be.
In Kansas.
Is Kansas? Yeah, in Kansas. That's right.
Yep.
So that's 3 of the 6.
That only leaves OSU,
West Virginia, and BYU.
Yep.
And it is big noon, and we are the big game in this conference. So are we going to see 2 out of the 3 more will be 11 a.m. kickoffs?
I don't think Provo will be.
I bet not 2.
Just because of time zone.
I would hope that West Virginia is not, just so we get one more night game for the excitement.
I feel like we always play West Virginia at night.
Yeah, it
No,
seems like we do.
I don't feel like that.
At home, we don't.
At home, we don't.
There we do.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's way the hell over on
And
the
cold.
eastern
No,
shore.
we'll
Yeah.
play West Virginia at 11 a.m. and wear our stupid Unity
Rough
jerseys.
Riders?
No.
Have we
the
ever played West
Unities.
Virginia with regular jerseys?
I don't know if we have, actually.
Was the Landry Jones?
We didn't have alternates
Where he
back
threw to
then.
Kenny
so,
Stills?
Yeah, we didn't have alternates, so we wore true
that
roads.
Was true
Yeah,
white.
that was true whites. Yeah.
Was that the first year of them being in the conference?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I don't know about the Oklahoma State game. That's going to be interesting to see if that's an 11 a.m. kick.
I think it will be.
I think it might be.
Is that possibility of game day being there?
I would say there's a
If-
real
if
good
OSU
possibility.
If OSU
I don't know who
is-
else plays
What
that
are they right
week.
now? 4-2. OSU.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
6-2, if they're 6-2, and if we're 8-0,
yeah,
there's a real good chance. That's a
Yeah.
big matchup.
obviously you
That's-
have to look at the schedule to see if there's
yeah,
any.
another big game.
Yeah, another big game.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
It could be USC Washington maybe. or something.
USC Washington is the same day we play Oklahoma State.
Now if they lost to Utah, they would have 2 losses.
They're going to lose to Utah and California. So
They're not losing a cow.
Game day likes going to
Texas,
Stillwater.
Kansas State.
game day does like going to Stillwater,
Yeah, earthquakes.
and they haven't.
Herb Street.
They have only been to one OU game, and I think they like going to OU games. And I tell you what they do like. They like going to the top programs in the latter half of the year. And so if they have an opportunity to go to anybody in the top 5 and watch them play, they're going to do it. And so
Bama LSU's that same week.
But that won't be a big noon kickoff.
Oh yeah, we
Well,
got the
ESPN's
we're
not
talking
big noon.
ESPN, though.
That-
Game day.
Yeah, I'm not talking Fox. I was talking
We're
game
just
day.
kind of switching gears there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the only other game really is Washington USC in terms of 11 a.m. kick on Fox.
So we may
Yeah,
see.
they're not going to do that because that's 9 a.m. on West Coast.
Right. So, yeah, we're probably looking at another 11 a.m. against Oklahoma State and maybe game day being there. Well, let's talk about predictions that we like to make, and that would be locks of the week.
The realest deal, locks of the week.
So, Connor, tell me, how'd you do last week?
I'm trying to really kind of remember.
Yeah.
That's
it
not
seemed like
hard.
you were-
I guess it
Yeah. You're pretty
is. It
good.
hard to count to 3?
I don't think so. Count to 3 for me.
1, 2, 3. No, it's not hard. I went
It
3.
is-
I went 3-0 last week. How'd you do?
I mean, hold on. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I was
Oh,
3
you
and 0
did-
as well.
oh, man, okay.
Holy
Look at you
jeez.
guys.
Just want to make sure.
Wow.
I was a Hail Mary away from being 2-1. Instead,
We'll put an
I finished-
asterisk by
I
yours.
finished 1-2 thanks to the West Virginia not being able to knock a ball down.
You know,
And a blatant holding call that was
Oh my
missed.
God, that was so bad
that
on
was
the replay.
bad. That was so bad.
And everything happened so fast that they didn't show it on TV. But Neil Brown was livid after that game, screaming at the refs. And I think a lot of it was the non-holding call because the Houston quarterback just kind of flushed out of the pocket and threw one down.
That
So-
was a crazy 6 minutes in the fourth
You know,
quarter.
I guess that's like in basketball where you basically punch a guy in the face to get a call at the end of
Yeah.
the game. I don't know if I agree with that theoretically, but I think I do not. I think that probably should get called, especially that blatant of one, but that costs you for sure. You know who else can count to 3? Jay can.
I can't. See, I temporarily forgot how the locks of the week worked last week, and so
you went the other way.
I
He
went
thought it
the
was
other way.
loss of the week.
Yeah,
Fades
and I
of the
did.
week.
I'll own up to it. I went 0-3. I was also a Hail Mary away from at least getting one victory.
That's true.
But as soon
and
as that,
a 29-point blown lead.
as soon
was
as
Friday night?
as
Oh,
soon
that was
as
Luke.
that
Oh, sorry.
happened,
Yeah.
though, I knew how the rest of my locks were going to go. So I really wasn't that concerned with
Yeah,
the
I
rest
could have
of
gone
my
3-0.
picks.
That's a good point, Connor. Colorado was up 29-0 with about 7
know how to
minutes to
pick
go
'em.
in the third quarter.
I'm
And
surprised
they
you didn't
just
pick
decided to
Boise.
stop playing football.
They
So-
almost, and they didn't just blow the cover. They lost.
They lost, yeah.
They lost the game.
So we're watching that at the lake, and I'm saying, if I'm Lucas, I want them to make sure they lose this game.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to win the game and I
Yes.
lose the
As
cover.
Because I was given 11.5 in that game.
Yeah.
And I saw 29-0. I was like, oh, this is looking pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I turned it back on, I don't know, 5 minutes ago in the fourth quarter. And at that point, I realized my locks lost. And I
Not
said,
lost. There was a chance.
Yeah, well, at
It
that
was
point, I was
narrow.
like, I just hope they lose at this point.
Well,
So-
Steve and I were talking about in overtime. We're like, well, Colorado got the ball first. They score. They're dumb enough. They would get an interception.
And they'd run
and
it
cocky
in.
enough. They take
Pick
it
six.
99 yards
Yeah.
and score
And
to
I
cover.
said, here's what's going to happen. That guy's going to go and he's going to get tackled on the 1 yard line, and you're not going to cover because of
and
that.
Colorado wins. Yeah.
Well, for the season, we're 52% as a group, so we're nearly covering the spread, the juice. Connor, you're the big leader right now at 58%, so you're in the catbird seat on that deal. But that's water under the bridge. Let's look forward. Who's got some locks for this week? I want to start with Jay. What do you got, Jay?
All right, I'm going to take USC on a bounce back game. Utah's been talking trash for a whole year. They beat them twice last year. USC at home, giving less than a touchdown at 6.5. Tennessee at Bama. I'm gonna take Tennessee plus that
9.5.
9.5. Oh, absolutely, I'll take that. That's a lot better than the 8.5. Bama's just their defense is very good. Their offense is we're going to try and run the football and hit a couple of balls over the top. That's it. And Tennessee has a very underrated good defensive line. I think Alabama's 130th in the country in sacks allowed, so they cannot protect their quarterback.
That's
9.5
insane.
9.5 points to me seems like a lot in what I think is a low scoring game. I don't know that either team gets
Game means a
low
lot for Bama,
20s
though, too,
maybe.
after last year.
And shoot, I'm trying to think of who else I even went for.
I think you went with Duke.
I did. I went Duke plus 13.5 against Florida State.
You've been a non-believer in them all
I just
season.
don't believe in Florida State. I just think they're okay. I don't.
I will agree with
I
you.
agree.
I don't know.
agree with you on that.
It just seems like a lot of points.
I agree.
But
I agree. Well, Lucas, what do you got?
I've got Mizzou -7 against South Carolina. I think Beamer has been making excuses left and right. And I like Shane Beamer, but he's looked really bad the last couple of weeks, complaining referees one time and
defense, all the defensive execution last
yeah,
week.
and and even in the special teams game, they're not playing very well.
And he broke
They-
his foot kicking something.
Yeah, he got
A
so mad he kicked
Gatorade.
something.
Yeah,
and broke his
they
foot.
might be bad. South Carolina might be bad football.
Yeah, they're 2-4 currently, and they're playing a 6-1 Mizzou team. This could be one of those lines that everybody sees at -7, and Vegas is just daring you to bet on Mizzou. And we know Vegas usually gets these right. And last week, one of the lines I took, it was the Houston West Virginia game. You're like, how is Houston?
Yeah, that line looked
The
so
line
wrong.
looked funny, and so that's the ones you usually stay away from. And I fell for it, and here I am falling for it again. So we'll see how that goes. I've got JMU -3.5 against Marshall. I've been on them a couple times this season. When I did my locks last week, I actually forgot to check, and they were, I think, a 2.5-point favorite and blew out Georgia State, I think it was.
Yeah, you're right.
And I just completely missed it on my radar on that one because I've been watching JMU play really well.
Are they
this
still
season.
undefeated?
They're still
They are.
undefeated.
think they cracked the top
Not only are they
25.
undefeated, here's my prediction: OU goes into the conference champion game against Texas, and the narrative is OU needs to win so that because if they lose, they actually aren't going to make the playoffs because James Madison's going to get in.
I don't think they can play in it. They're not ranked right now.
I think they're 23rd.
I think
or
they're in the top
25th,
25
yeah.
now.
I think, last year they couldn't play in a bowl game because they had changed conferences. There's some kind of a weird.
Oh, really?
There's some kind of, or not changed conferences. They came up from the lower conference or from the lower.
Oh, I didn't. I
from
thought they were
F-
eligible.
1AA or
FCS,
Yeah.
and now they're in FBS. So there's some weird NCAA rule that they weren't bowl eligible, even though I think they went like 10-2 last year, or something weird. I don't remember.
Oh, well,
But-
they were good last year.
Yeah, they were good last year. So
Still my prediction.
I'm on them for -3.5, and then I've got the Pokes of Oklahoma State +3.5 at West Virginia. That might be another Vegas situation where they're daring you to bet OSU getting 3.5. I think OSU has figured out they can run the ball, and Ollie Gordon looks phenomenal, and I hope he likes Crimson because I wouldn't mind stealing him from them like we did Trace Ford this
There
year.
you
It'd be
go.
awesome if we could steal him in the off season. But I think their run game, Bowman looks a little more comfortable back there. Mike Gundy is not being as stupid as he was early in the season when they're losing to South Alabama or whoever the hell he lost
Yep,
to.
South Alabama.
So I've got OSU plus 3.5 against West Virginia.
Connor, what do you got?
Leading off with the Ohio State University minus 4.5 versus Penn State. I feel like I've seen this story a lot where Penn State comes into Columbus highly ranked, and gets shut down pretty good. I don't think Ohio State's as good as what everybody thinks they are, but I also think the same along the lines of Penn State. Really has only played West Virginia all year. So I'm taking the Buckeyes in that one. Got Air Force minus 11.5 against Navy. Air Force looks pretty strong this year. Still undefeated. Navy's at 3-3, I believe. You got an academy matchup, but I think Air Force takes that one. And then I've got BYU at plus 4.5 against Texas Tech. So I don't think Texas Tech is what anyone, especially a lot of national pundits, thinks they are. And I think BYU's stout. I think they'll give Texas Tech a challenge, and they cover the plus 4.5 there.
I've got Washington giving a lot of points, 26.5 to Arizona State, but I think that they are going to come out, and this is a real trap game for me. Coming off of a very emotional game against Oregon, can Washington show up and cover 26.5 against Arizona State? I'm predicting they can. I'm with Jay. I like Tennessee getting 9.5 to Alabama. I think that Alabama is going to struggle to cover such a big spread. And I'll tell you this, we're not both going to go 3-0 because I've got Penn State getting 4.5 against Ohio State, the OSU.
I prefer you to be correct.
So now we're not going to have a 12-0 week.
Now we won't.
God.
Now we won't.
Well,
Yeah.
Ruining it for everybody.
But I could see this going either way. I just feel like Penn State has got a little bit more. I don't believe in OSU and Oklahoma in Ohio State. I don't think that they have what it takes to win a game. They struggled against Notre Dame, pulling it out narrowly. Really shouldn't have won that game. That was really Notre Dame losing that game. So I think Penn State covers the 4.5. We'll see. But it'll be interesting.
I would take a
this
2-1 week if it meant the Buckeyes getting beat.
It could be that the Buckeyes lose, and that has them setting out the conference championship in that conference. And maybe the best thing that could happen to them is they backdoor their way into the playoff as a result. I don't know.
Yeah, they lose and beat Michigan, and Michigan
both of them get
beats
in?
Penn State. All three will have a loss.
Yeah, and
they'll come down to some
tiebreaker thing.
OU, Texas Tech tiebreaker
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, it could be really weird in the Big Ten,
Yeah, it sucks
especially
that-
because they play divisions, so that everybody it's all loaded on that one side.
The other side of the bracket is horrible.
It's just
Iowa.
horrible.
It's Iowa. It's
or
gonna be
Wisconsin.
Iowa.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's bad.
Now Iowa could be 12-1, and they go in, they win it all.
They might
and
only score 117 points the
they
whole
get
season.
into the playoff with an offensive coordinator who's going to get fired because he didn't score enough points.
Yeah, it sucks that Ohio State game's the same time as our game.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, let's talk about the upcoming game for the Sooners, and let's talk about score predictions. So, what are you telling me? What was you saying?
Go ahead.
Oh, so I'll lead us off. I got the Sooners winning and covering 59-17.
Phew.
59 to
I'll be
17.
all right with that.
Big game.
I've got OU winning as well, also covering. I've got 52-21.
Lucas, what do you got?
I've got OU 52 and UCF 20.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
52?
Yep.
Oh, he changed it. He changed it. That's
I
what you're
changed it,
telling me?
yeah,
Oh,
like
he's changing
a
it.
few minutes ago.
He did. He sent it in. It's official.
Yep.
52
So me and Connor
to
won
20. Wow. All right. So, Jay, what do you got?
44-20.
Not as good on
How are we
well,
getting a 44 in
on
this
offense.
I don't know.
game? Okay.
Well, they're all possible.
3 field
Yeah,
goals.
that's what I was wondering.
No, I tell you how we're going to get it. We're going to
He's
get
got 5
We're
touchdowns
gonna get a
and
safety.
three field goals.
no. We're going to get a safety.
Peyton Bowen going to
6
block another
touchdowns
punt.
and a safety?
Yeah, block a punt and Trace Ford to put it through the back of the end zone again. I'll take it. I would take any of those scores. All of us have OU covering, so that's exciting. That's good. I don't know.
Seventh time this season.
It'd be the 7th time this season, which would be the 8th time in a row because we covered in the Florida State bowl game last year. It's tough to do that when you look at it, but then again, I don't think the national narrative is caught up to where these Sooners really are. I don't think we're getting the respect we actually deserve, and it'll get tighter as it goes, but I definitely think we've got an opportunity to outscore Vegas, if you will, going forward. So anything else to talk about leading into this game? It's exciting to see the Sooners at 6-0.
It'd be fun seeing Gabriel and Lebby against their old team. I mean, I think
that would
I think a lot of people were expecting that storyline to be more than what it is at this point, and thankfully for us, the storyline is that the Sooners are 6-0, and we've got a lot to play for this week and all the weeks after. So it's weird that we're already halfway through the season. It has flown by.
It is weird.
It's always like that, but man, it's really gone by quickly this year.
I went with a lower scoring game because I hope that we are really trying to establish the run, and it just shortens the game. And if they sell out to stop our run, I think the scores, you guys are going to be much closer, because I think we'll hit them over the top all day long if they just sell out to stop our run game. So that's kind of why I went with the lower score. I'm hoping it's because we're just pounding the rock and the game gets over pretty fast and it's a nice, comfortable win.
Does Brennan Thompson get to play more this game with Andrew Anthony out? I know we'll see more Nick Anderson, I'm sure, and maybe some more Gibson, but does Thompson get in more?
I think it's a good opportunity for him, too.
I would hope so.
I would hope so across the board.
Especially not seeing him in the Texas game.
Yeah, that was shocking to me.
Not too shocking to me. I think coaches tend to be so conservative in tough games. They go with players that are so as seasoned as they can. And so this is a game where you have an opportunity to play a lot of guys. I hope they look at it that way and get a lot of experience for some guys who haven't seen a lot of catches. I'd like to see Nick Anderson get the ball, be targeted like 8-9 times at least. That would be really nice. Which would mean like 7 touchdowns based on his history.
He's been on the field a lot more than you would think.
He's just not targeted.
Just not targeted,
Yeah. So I don't know if he's also not the number one receiver with Anthony, and now all of a sudden he might potentially be that guy.
He's just a dude, and I'm excited. I mean, I think just the little flashes we've seen, not even just the crazy emotional touchdown, but I mean what he can do with the ball after he gets it in his hands.
He seems really aggressive.
Between him and Farouk, they are catching the ball with the intention of getting yards after that catch. And
their attitude is just tremendous.
I wish they would use Farouk like a Debo Samuel.
Yeah.
Just line him up wherever you can.
Just constantly give him the ball, just different
Well,
different
they
ways.
did a little bit, put him in the Wildcat.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Which is sort of what we expected out of Freeman, and we haven't seen it. But Farouk has been more of that guy.
I want to see Jaquez Petaway play so badly.
I want to see some Petaway. I'd like to see that develop and get him
coming
some good
out of
experience.
camp. Freeman was all
anybody talked about.
That's all. Yeah,
the
best receiver on the team,
but he can't.
And he's been non-existent.
But you can't play him over Stoops, like you just can't. And they're not going to put him on the outside.
But you can have him instead of Stogner. You can have 2 slot receivers.
Well, we wanted to see 4 receivers, and we got a little bit of that. And was it the
that's a good
Tulsa game?
That's a good question. Do we see?
I think we're going to see more.
Do
Stogner.
we see more Stogner or less Stogner?
I think we're going to see more Stogner.
Well, I'd love to see success with Stogner. I just have my doubts that can happen. I'd like to see them understand that the 4 receivers with true wideouts and slot guys be the composition of those 4. I think that's a much more potent offense.
Thank goodness we have depth there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to report on my ticket situation. I don't think we talked about it on the pod.
Yeah, no, let's talk about that.
I'm the foremost end zone analyst in the country, and I've been in section 16 since 2000. I was, I think, row 56 or so for a couple years, and I moved up to row 71, and then for the last...
You bought those seats from Benny Owen,
For the last 8 years, I think, or so, I've been in row 72 up against the wall at the top. Love it. Would never get rid of those seats in my life.
Unless
you
you were made to.
I planned on dying in those seats, maybe even literally. And I was...
That would have been a hell of a post-game video.
It'd be Weekend at Bernie's. He'd be propping me up doing the post-game report. But,
and instead of throwing the ball out of the back of the out of the back of the stadium, we just toss Lucas over.
Yeah. So with the new SEC rules of 5,000 away tickets as opposed to the Big 12 2,500, and then
2,500 in the lower bowl.
and then they've also moved the students, which didn't affect me this time, but they moved the students they can't go past the 30-yard line behind the visitors bench. So I lost all of section 15 is going to be away tickets starting next year. And then the top 18 rows of section 16, which were my seats, are going to be away. And then I think the band is going to go in the lower 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they moved the students to, I want to say 22 to 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I had to re-pick tickets for the first time in forever. And I ended up getting the top of section 20. So my current seats, I look right down the OU sideline at the top of the north in my section, and now I'm essentially just gonna be looking down the away sideline. So I'll have about the same view, but on the different. On the
Be
other
easier
side.
to see the OU players out there on the sideline.
That's true.
And
Get it
I
good.
mean, I
Get
can
a
see it
view
all
from
from the end
that.
zone. That's why I keep telling you guys.
So
Yeah.
you're not superstitious,
keep
but you're a
telling
little
us that.
stitious. So as I look at it and think about the fact that OU knew this was happening from the get-go this season, they just waited to release this information late.
Thank God we're winning.
So basically, it was already baked into the cake that you were moving. Could it be the case that all of our woes and lack of accomplishing all our goals was just that you were in the wrong section all this time? And now
'cause
you're
we-
going to be in the right
Because we won
section?
the 2000 national championship while I was in this section.
It's true, but you weren't at the top.
And then I went to the big thing at the end of the season, celebrating the national championship. Toby Keith came out and gave a speech, and it was all in the north end zone because that's where the best fans sit. So they decided to put the stage in the north end zone itself, and then the stands.
They said
so. I went on that freezing ass cold January
there
day
too.
in the north end zone.
I was there.
Rooting on my Sooners. Patrick Fletcher got a big
They
ovation.
did. You know, he did. He had a lot to say that game. He rattled off all the national championships. I think what they said in the press release was they wanted to throw a bone to the people who really don't get to see the games, and so they were going to do that for them. Is why they did that. Well, that's
There was a
interesting.
reason you got the early window, right? I mean, they could have just waited until next, like the actual window.
Well, I actually thought what they should have done is they should have had people with existing season tickets say yes or no if they were going to keep tickets, because there's some people that get tickets for a couple years and then give them
then
back up.
give 'em up.
So I thought I might be screwed as getting the tickets I wanted because of people not having the option to give their tickets up, which would open up more tickets essentially. I don't know how many people would turn down the first season in the SEC, but there'd be some people.
There'd be some.
I bet
financially and
if I
stuff.
was in your position and I had to move, I think some of the best seats that I could imagine, like there's that scoreboard that kind of hangs out a little bit.
Well, if
Yeah.
you could be
In the
under
north
it
end zone?
and
And
protected,
if you could be underneath the scoreboard,
so you'd always be in the shade.
be in
and
the
you'd
shade,
be protected
be
from
protected
rain.
from the elements.
Did you look into those?
I did look into those.
Oh.
Did you not get them?
Nope, I got outvoted. We have 5 seats, and I lost that one 3-2.
Democracy?
Yep.
Remind me who was on your
It
side.
was democracy. A coin flip.
The coin flip was
Was one of the people in my 5 decided to flip a coin, and that became a scoreboard vote, and then my scoreboard vote. But then the other 3 wanted the wall, which
Oh man,
the wall is very nice because you never have anybody putting their knees in your back from behind.
Yeah, sure.
You get to stand up whenever you want.
Okay.
Stretch
you don't
your
have
legs,
you don't almost have heat strokes. Though.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What about rain? You get rain when there's
No,
not
I was trying to
protection.
think back, and I think the Ohio State game it rained before the game really bad, and then a
Yeah.
little bit during the game, but not much.
Well,
I
that
really
rain
can't
was
think of
coming in
another-
from the north, though.
I can't think of another really rain game.
Well,
I mean,
I'll-
the P. Ryan game was.
I'll be
was
honest.
brutal.
Rain. We've done pretty well in the rain. I
We
think
have.
the P. Ryan game. I think back to
Texas Tech, we
several
didn't do well.
Oklahoma State games where we
The
won.
Texas Tech delayed
You
game.
know. So yeah.
We did not do well.
Maybe it's.
There
maybe
was
it's okay.
Iowa State when Seneca Wallace came to town. That it rained a little bit that game.
We've
The
been
North,
known
the
for the
North,
most part.
the North Texas throwback uniform game was
Yeah.
super
yeah,
rainy.
that
Yeah.
was 2000.
I think we had a delay
Yeah.
against Baylor in the early 2000s.
Now the
that
Texas
we
Tech delay
won.
wasn't good, but so as long as there's not a delay, you're in great shape.
Yeah, I think so.
That
So-
Sooners are mutters; they can handle the rain.
I'm still going to be the country's foremost end zone analyst. So
Nonetheless,
that
yeah,
stays the
we're
same.
very happy that you found your seats.
Yep.
Keep the
I
crew
was
together.
definitely that was something I was stressed for a good 3 weeks about.
What I think is great. Yes, you were.
We were stressed for you because I didn't want to hear you bitch about
Yeah, I
it
was
for
tired
the
of
next
hearing
year.
about it. I'm glad that you'll have a better vantage of us. You'll be able to see us enjoying a great view. You have a better angle to see that. That's going to be wonderful.
I'll be further away from you, so
That's also good.
the stench will be less.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see how it goes this coming Saturday, one of your last 3 games, enjoying those seats in Section 16. Sooners are rolling. They're 6-0. They're looking to be 6-0 from here out, to be 12-0 going into a big conference championship. But it's one game at a time. We'll see what they can do. Reminder, go to Fluke Luke Fishing on YouTube. Go check it out. Listen to those reviews. Listen to his he catches some big bass. He knows how to catch those bass. But until that time, Boomer
Sooner.